All right, Mikolai has a question. Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Do you hear me good?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I have one question. Very simple, maybe not related particularly about your Minecraft course, but I would like to ask you, how have you started with all those courses with recording, etc.? Yeah, how have you started this? What have you had any problems before, or I just want to know how your journey with all those teaching, all those courses have started,
Oh,
because this what you are doing is very helpful to me. I'm really grateful because I bought your course 1 year ago. I finished it, and this is a very good start to programming. So I just want to say thank you for everything you're doing, and also mm, this like you saw one video, like how you prepare your day, like Evernote, etc. So I've downloaded Evernote, and I feel like I'm better organized every day. So just want to say thank you, and I would like to ask, how have your journey started?
well, thank you for the question. It's a pretty good question. Not a lot of people are asking about it. And I mean, thanks that you find the courses helpful. I'm happy for you. So basically, how I started, I think it was in 2011 when I found Minecraft. So that was 2011, started to play Minecraft, and then I quickly noticed it was pretty limited because I wanted to have a server, and I noticed that there were plugins, and I think I wanted to have a Skyblock server or a survival server because I was playing with a friend over Skype. And we noticed that you could not do a lot of things. You had to download plugins. And I remember using Essentials and then maybe World Edit and then a bunch of other plugins, but it was pretty limited. So, I just wanted to have more. I was very curious and I looked into Java, but the problem was that I never coded anything in Java before. So, I bought the book in Java and I tried to read it. It was just a massive book. There's just so much theory that I could not remember everything because from the book I maybe used 10 or 15 or maybe 20%, but the rest of it was just theory. And then I found, I think, like a YouTube training or a forum from my hosting because I bought a very cheap hosting. I think it was $5. And on that forums, there were a couple of tutorials that I started to follow. And I think my first plugin was in 2012. There was, yeah, the first, it was not even my first plugin. It was just a lift sign plugin that you would right click, you would place a sign, you would click the sign, and it would teleport you to the upper floor. And so that's how I started. I simply looked up a plugin. It was from 2010, I think. It was broken because Minecraft has updated, right? As it always does. And I tried to fix that plugin. And after spending a lot of time in it, I did successfully fix the plugin. But it was just such a painful process. It took me a lot of time, and it was just not worth the effort. So um, I don't know. I just kept using that plugin, and I had a Skyblock server, and then I had a survival server. But one thing that was, I think, started within that plugin was the desire for more, because previously I could not code. I never made a plugin. I was techie. I could code maybe a little bit in CSS, a little bit in HTML, but not Java. And since that plugin, something has changed. It was the desire for more. And so, yeah, I started going on all of these forums. I did not speak English very well, so it was probably just a Czech forum for the hosting server that I had. And what I did um, is not what you should do. I downloaded a bunch of very simple plugins and I copied the code over and I created like a broken copy of 3 other plugins. I think it was an anti-spam plugin and then something like a grief prevention plugin. I also did a custom inventory plugin, I think, but it was not really my plugins. It was just code copied from other people, without me asking for permission. And I learned a lot, but again, it just took me a lot of time. It was just very confusing because I did not understand everything. It was not what I was learning in the Java book because Minecraft coding is a little bit different. And yeah, I did get into trouble. I was actually banned on that forum because I was obviously just messing around with plugins and I wanted to give myself, operator status, and I forgot about it. And then I put the plugin with the operator status on the forums, and everybody thought that I was trying to infect people, and they just banned me. So it's pretty horrific. And I thought, okay, this is the end. I was depressed for a couple of weeks, but then I just focused on making plugins for my own server. I started to copy less and make more code that was my own. And I used to have a server from, I think, 2012 until 2015. It was called RushMine. You can still go to that site. It's up today still. Maybe I can check it out if it still works. Yeah, it does. So, I closed the server in 2015 and I had it from 2012. And so on that server, I really tried to code custom plugins for my own custom needs. And after a while, I would say maybe half a year, it took me such a long time, to become what I now call self-reliant, but it was not self-reliance. It was just ability to maybe make very tiny plugin. And then in 2013, I wanted to do a public plugin, and I noticed that there was a hole in the marketplace. There was also a free plugin that I really liked, but it was broken, did not work as expected. It was an anti-spam plugin. So I took inspiration from it. I did not, I copied a little bit, but I did not completely copy it. So that was a huge, huge improvement. And yeah, and that's how chat control was made. So I plug maybe 4 or 5 small plugins together. I added my own custom features to it. And then I placed chat control on Bucket. I placed it on Spigot. We stayed on Spigot. And, fast forward a couple of years, I was playing around with it. I rewrote it. I think the generation 1.0.0 was completely trash. 2.0 was pretty much the same. And then 3.0, yeah, I can't remember. I know I did one rewrite maybe in 4.0.0, but the code was just so messy. These 3 generations were probably the same, and the 4th one was a little bit better, but it was still sucky. And then the final that we actually kept until the current pro version, this code based was actually built maybe in 2015, and that was the best code that I could ever produce by that time. And looking at it now, it was pretty shameful, but back then I was very proud of it. The plugin did a lot of custom features. We had custom languages, and you also wanted to know what problems I faced. So I got kicked out of Bucket as well because we had a plugin called, I do think it was called Force OP. It was not a malicious plugin, but it had a admin command. And I had the same issue as on the Czech forums because in the Force OP, I put a warning like warning, this plugin contains something. I do think you can still tester. You can still Google it. Yeah. Okay, so that one is good. So we had a disclaimer, right? We had that disclaimer. The problem is they didn't, I do think they ignored it on Bucket and then just decided to ban me. And then they claimed that, the plugin contained this, even though there was a disclaimer. So it was very, I'm not sure what went wrong there, but it was a big issue. I was, confused. I was sad because my second account was banned. So I started to sell on Speak on MC. And yeah, I when I reposted a plugin many years later, in 2019, I had this disclaimer twice. And I also sent a message to the mods of that site that, hey, we are going to run a plugin like this, which can, up you. I don't want to get banned for a third time. That was a huge issue. So one thing I learned, don't put things like this in plugins. Don't be careful. They don't like it. Definitely don't like it on Bucket. They don't like it. Spigot, you have to have a huge disclaimer. On Bucket, I would not do, this at all. And so, yeah, then 2015, I published my first premium plugin because people were asking about, why don't you post premium plugin? Chat control is really awesome. I was very hesitant. I did not believe in myself. I had very low self-confidence, even though I was coding for a couple of years. Again, maybe I had only the 5th generation back then, which was still not very good. I did not believe in myself because I was alone in this. I did not have any coding friends. I did not have any coding partners. And whenever I made something, it was maybe tested on my server, in my local community, but it was not any internationally successful thing. So I had mindset issues. And I remember the first time I placed Chat Control Pro, it was only maybe €3, maybe 350. I don't know. It was very cheap. And I do think the first month I made 400 or $500, which was insane. I could not believe it, and I looked at it and I'm like, dang, like this actually works. Like you can make money from doing something you love. And so I kept at it. I was hooked pretty much since then. I was hooked in Minecraft because I loved it. I really enjoyed coding, and I was getting paid for something I love. Now, the problem was that I could not take care of the plugin because I understood coding, but I did not understand marketing. So, I went from maybe 400 a month to maybe $100 a month, which is maybe €80, which is nothing, right? It's not much. And that was a problem. So what I did next was I tried to fix it by making more plugins. We had an animations plugin. It was called Animax. Then I released Confiscate. But that did not solve the problem. Plugins were not selling very well. So that was another big issue. I could code, but I could not sell. And then I went online and I purchased, I do think the guy's name was Ted Nicholas. He was a very old guy. I think he died since. And I purchased trainings from him to learn about business, learn about selling. I think the guy was 80 years old by that time. It's pretty good because I did not believe the young gurus. I wanted to have something professional. And he really taught me how to write. He taught me how to think like a business owner. He taught me how to do ads, how to run promotion campaigns. And then that was 2017. We released, I think, Boss, Core Arena, Autoplay, Puncher. And yeah, I was hooked. I started to make decent money. I was good at coding. I became better, and I was doing it every day. Like that's I think, where the transition courses came from, because once I had so many plugins, people were asking me, hey, can you make a private plugin for me? Like, how did you make this? How did you make that? And so in 2018, the next year, I started to think, what is the next thing? And I know I wanted to do a cryptocurrency app, or I was into financing, but that didn't work out. And I thought, I have all this knowledge. I know how to code plugins, but I want to, do something else. So why don't I release a course? People are asking for it. I am going to forget it if I don't use that knowledge. Like if I take a break from coding, I will forget it. That's what you do. If you don't speak the language that you learn, you just forget the language. And so I thought, hey, I'm going to do a course. It's going to be like a, final course for people that want to continue these plugins, because I'm doing something else. And I just did the course. I had no idea how to do it. I just sat down. It was a very basic course. It was called Spigot course. I wrote the ad, wrote the letter. And I mean, success of that course was insane. I released it Saturday, and I was living alone, so I had to pay for the rent. I was still, asking my mom to send me maybe 200 euros a month to help me with the rent. It was pretty embarrassing, but I wanted to do something. I wanted to start my own business. I wanted to do something more. Plugins they were not making a lot. Maybe they were making 600, 800 bucks. And I did the course and I released it on Saturday. And I woke up the next day. I opened the email and I see, holy crap, like I just made the money for the rent in 24 hours. Like, this is insane. And I looked at it and I'm like, okay, holy crap, like I'm good at coding. People are liking it. Why am I looking for all the other opportunities? Like, why am I trying to do some shiny object thing? And I just realized that I wanted to stay with courses, because it's just the leverage you get from teaching. I can speak on the camera and I can get 2,000 people to watch this video, and they all will be able to create a plugin. That's for one. For two, it can cover my living costs. It can actually be a full-time income. Now, obviously, that was only the launch. Like, the first 24 hours are insane after you release something, but then the next month, it went down, but it never went so much down. People always kept buying it, and I'm like, okay, holy crap, I have to make it more professional. So in 2019, I did MineAcademy, and that's what I'm doing since then. I just took it from a hobby into a full-time income and a full-time business. And yeah, so the problems I faced were bans, as always. People are jealous, a lack of trust in myself, self-confidence issues, huge, and then lack of knowledge, because there was no course. I had to learn everything by myself. And that's why I made these courses, to help others. And then lack of marketing skills. I do want to have a course on selling. People are also asking about it. I did not create it yet, because I said, hey, it was maybe lack of trust in myself back in 2018. We had a small portion on selling, but in 2019, I'm like, okay, let's really test it. If the first half of the course is going to sell, then I'm just going to remake the course. Didn't have time for it last year, and this year I will start remaking the old project-oriented courses and also add the selling part. So that was a big problem, and I solved it by getting a mentor, getting many mentors, paying for all these courses on business. And then the final problem was actually building a team, finding developers. That was last year, making sure developers are good, they actually get the job done. And I would not say that I solved this one, because I built two teams. They were not good. First one was just to meet myself and two people, and then they stayed with us half a year. Then I built a bigger team. It was six people, and that went down very quickly because I was very poor at leading. I had no skills. Like, same issue back in 2017, I had no marketing skills. Back in 2020, I had no leadership skills. So I had to learn it, and I got a job and another company to learn leadership. And yeah, I mean, right now I rebuilt the team. I got one person working from France, then two people locally in Slovakia, and then myself. So we're four people, and it's just so far it's fantastic. I mean, the two people are not working that much. They're not developers, but for the job they're given, they're working fantastic. Very, very proud. And again, how I solved the leadership issue was I actually got a job. So it's a big commitment. If someone's listening to this from the recording and they're looking at it and they're thinking, okay, I need to learn something. Well, you have multiple options. You can read a book. For me, there was 80% waste. You can get a course, and that's maybe 80% good, 20% waste. You can get a job, and that's maybe 50-50. It really depends what you do in a job. So yeah, for everybody listening, I would definitely recommend working with a mentor. This can be through a course like this. Maybe even some of you guys, if you are really passionate, maybe getting a job, internship for just half a year, 1 year. I stayed there for 4 months, really helped me. And then you can always quit and you can go back to your craft. And that's how you're going to make the biggest progress. And that was this for me. So yeah, that was my beginnings. Hopefully that was helpful. Let me know if you have more questions. And yeah, I'm happy to help.